Welcome to A Dead Squirrel in the Woods, a paranormal podcast. Here we discuss the paranormal in Wisconsin. I am Nick, one of your hosts.
And I'm Callie. So, Nick, what have you been doing with your time this week?
Well, I did have the week off over the holidays, and it's been doing a lot of research and getting ready to record these podcasts. It was nice having time off, spending time with family. We did go to the Quick Trip Face-Off College Hockey event with the Wisconsin Badgers in there.
Oh yeah, that was very, very fun. Very interesting.
Yes.
Did the days feel like they were just disappearing? I mean, just sitting at home?
Oh yeah, they really did feel like they were disappearing. They just went by so quick, which kind of brings us into what we're going to talk about today. We're going to discuss the Michigan Triangle. Now, this is going to be in maybe 2 or 3 parts.
There's a lot of information to go off.
Yeah, there was
here.
a lot of information, different topics. So I have to kind of split this one up. Now, this one was suggested by our mother.
You know, I love how she told you about this and not me.
Well, this was on Christmas Eve, and you were setting up your PS5 that you got.
Of course, she would do that when I was doing that.
Now, you may be asking, the Michigan Triangle? Well, you've heard of the Bermuda Triangle, right?
Oh, you bet I have.
Okay, well, the Michigan Triangle has its own unique mysteries and oddities. The Bermuda Triangle, ships disappear, people disappear, things just disappear, right? Well, there's a triangle on Lake Michigan that has caused lots of problems, many conspiracies, disappearances, crashes, whatever it may be. It has been hinted as a hotspot for UFO sightings, a gateway to a parallel universe, ships that have disappeared, flights as well.
Oh my goodness. So, I'm into parallel universes and conspiracy theories, and this is just like a jackpot for me. So, people on ships are just disappearing in this area. Why have I never heard of this? And where in Lake Michigan is this?
Yes, and we're actually going to be talking about the shipwrecks and ship disappearances in this episode. Now, that depends. So where this is now. Okay, now it's going to be a triangle, right? So one point of the triangle is in Ludington to Benton Harbor, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then both of those cities, a line goes to Manitowoc, Wisconsin.
Ooh.
And the Great Lakes have claimed thousands of vessels through shipwrecks or there's disappearances. So the first one, and this is actually the big one, this is the first recorded one. I'm sure there were probably more back then. They did use, when they did trading on Lake Michigan, they used canoes. So I'm sure there were probably other ones, just there's no records.
Canoes on Lake Michigan? That's insane.
So, now, this one takes place in 1679, and this is a ship called Lake Griffin.
Okay, so this has been happening for like hundreds of years now?
Yes, and Lake Griffin was the first ship, and it was built in 1679.
Wait, so Lake Griffin or Lake Griffon?
Yeah. Yes.
Do I need a French accent for this?
No. This is named after, and some of you may know what a griffin is, but a griffin is a mystical, half eagle, half lion beast that is said to guard the gold and precious belongings of kings.
Okay.
So this is mythology.
That actually sounds horrifying. Can you
Yes.
imagine seeing one of those in person? So, exactly what was this ship used for then?
Well, this The Lake Griffin was a sailing vessel that was built by Robert de La Salle in 1679. Lake Michigan has been a valuable trade route since the early 1600s. And I mean, we discussed that with the Apostle Islands and the trading with the French there too.
That's true.
So the French explorers had trade relationships with the native tribes exchanging various goods. The ship's construction began January 1679. This is the first time the world was exploring. This was at the time the world was exploring new routes to expand trade. The Griffin, one of the largest ships in its time, was sent out on its maiden voyage in 1679. So they built that pretty quick.
Oh man, big ship like that, but pretty
And
quick.
the goal of this was to find Northwest Passage to China and Japan.
I bet they didn't find that.
Well, as we go further in, we'll see. They went with a crew of 32 sailing from Lake Erie to Lake Huron to Lake Michigan. As you know, all the Great Lakes connect. And, so on September 18th, 1679, the ship sailed away with La Salle and some of the crew left behind. This was after all their trading, and the ship went with a crew of 6 and loads of fur on board.
So, hold on. So with Lake Michigan waters, like I said before, but that's just yikes. I mean, okay, so what happened to Lake Griffin on these Lake Michigan waters?
Well, funny you should ask that. All was going well.
That's surprising.
Until the ship reached a body of water that is now known as Green Bay.
Ooh.
And it vanished.
What do you mean vanished?
Vanished. It's gone. Just gone. Now, this is not the only ship to possibly be submerged in the triangle. The ship vanished. We don't know if it was submerged, what that means. The horrifying thing is that there is no trace of wreckage or the crew.
So is this where the parallel universe theory comes in?
That could be. It's never been found. So, there's...
Wait, so it's never been found? Not even like a note or like a person or bones or wreckage, anything?
No, nothing has been recovered. Few have claimed to have found the remains. Now, however, all of these claims have been verified as not the Griffin.
What?
So, this still is a mystery.
Wait, so if it still remains a mystery, I'm guessing there's got to be some theories with this.
Yes. There are some theories on the ship's fate. One claim is the vessel went down in a storm. Logical. But you would think they would have found something by now. Another theory is that the crew fled with the ship and the fortune of the furs. They were trying to get to China and Japan, so, if they got out to the ocean. Some claim the Ottawa and Huron tribesmen murdered the crew and burned the boat. And according to the Indians, it sailed through a crack in the ice. Now that could be the parallel universe that you were thinking. So there's nothing, nobody knows. We haven't found anything, so there's no proof of any of it.
With so many theories, this is just insane. But Nick, we just had that blizzard in 2022, and how are you feeling about it?
I think that was more of a freeze than a blizzard, but that wasn't the case for the Mary McLean. This ship wasn't as lucky. But, yeah.
So true. The Mary McLean show, not all encounters in the triangle result in death and destruction.
Right. Now this one is takes place on July 12th, 1883. So, it's a big jump.
Yeah, just a little jump.
But, I had to, look at all of them, and we kind of had to filter some of these out, the more interesting cases. So,
of course.
yeah. This is a tugboat which is named the Mary McLean, with a crew that worked out of the Chicago harbor and experienced a strange event in the Michigan Triangle. So now, it seems odd that a clear and cloudless night could cause harm to a ship, don't you think?
I mean, if it's clear, what could happen?
Right. Now, it is said that it was unseasonably chilly for that time of the year.
It is July.
Yeah. Now, but this shows that if you are in the Michigan Triangle, all bets and expectations are off. They looked into the sky in confusion when the sun was shining brightly, but all the clouds disappeared.
But didn't they say it was a cloudless sky already?
Yeah, but all the clouds disappeared.
Like, none at all.
Right, nothing. So it was just blue. The crew claims to have witnessed mighty blocks of ice falling from the sky while on the lake.
Wait, so if these big blocks of ice are falling from the sky, and it isn't hail, and it's cloudless, how does that happen?
And it just happened. So this lasted for 30 minutes, and this was powerful enough to cause dents in the tugboat's wood surface. The crew, knowing nobody would believe this, right?
Yeah.
Would you have believed this if someone told, you got back to pier and they asked, what are all these dents? And you told them what happened. Do you think they'd believe you?
I think they would have put me in a psych ward.
Yeah, probably. So the crew somehow saved a large chunk of ice and put it in its galley ice boxes. Proof.
Well, as crazy and interesting as that is, yikes.
I mean, are you more interested in disappearances then, or?
I think this Michigan Triangle is way more interesting than you let on.
Okay. Well, have you heard of the Thomas Hume?
No, I have not.
Okay, well, the Thomas Hume was a 3-masted wooden schooner that was used in the lumber trade on Lake Michigan in the late 1800s. It was about 132 feet long with a 26-foot beam. The ship's origin is in question, but basically the Thomas Hume isn't the original name. The ship was built in 1870 in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, by Joseph Hansen, and was originally christened the H.C. Albright after its first owner, Harry C. Albright. So this Joseph Hansen built it for this guy. Mm-hmm. Now, at some point, the vessel was sold to lumber tycoons James McGordon and Charles Hinckley of Muskegon, Michigan. And in around 1879, the ship was moved to a dry dock for repairs and upgraded with no expense spared. So this has got to be a solid ship. And the upgrades gave it the capability to haul 250,000 feet of lumber each trip. So they could haul more.
So that must have been like a really impressive ship.
Yeah, so you would think this would be like a really solid ship and no problems, right?
Yeah,
okay.
You saying that makes me worry.
Yeah. Yeah, well, at this time, I'm sure that was impressive and they didn't have any worries. Now, on May 21st, 1891, the ship unloaded its cargo at the Chicago docks. And, well, they had to go back to Muskegon. The skipper that ran was Harry Albright. Now, that name Albright's familiar. Oh, you know what? He was the son of the original owner.
Oh, H.C. Albright.
Yeah, so the day was chilly and damp, but that didn't deter the Hume. You know, Albright was a experienced captain, so he wasn't worried. And they were one member short. I guess that wasn't a big deal. The Hume was accompanied by another schooner called the Rue Simmons on its voyage.
Dun dun dun!
Now, both ships were having some frustrating progress. So, well, the Simmons was not so brave and decided to dock for the night. But, well, famous last words, we can make it. So the Hume continued on.
Wait, so the Hume was stubborn, kind of like our brother?
Yeah, does kind of run in the family, doesn't it?
Wait, what do you mean by that? Are you saying that I'm stubborn, or are you admitting that you're stubborn?
Yeah, maybe a little bit of both. More you're stubborn, but...
What?
Yeah, but never mind that. Let's get back to the Hume. That was the last time the ship was seen until 2006, when a diver found the Thomas Hume. However, what happened to the Hume is still a mystery.
Wait, so they found it almost 200 years later.
Yes, almost 200 years later.
So it's possible that it had just submerged, had a leak, or...
Yeah, that's very possible, but why did it take so long to find? So they don't have any theories on why it is gone. So that, it's kind of spooky. They probably should have docked with the other ship. Maybe that wouldn't have happened.
With the Rue Simmons.
Yeah. So now, there's a tale about that Rue Simmons.
Oh, so they didn't get so lucky either.
They didn't get so lucky in the future either, and it had a good life. So this ship would eventually be sold to a Captain Herman Schoenemann. There you go. The ship was used in a successful family endeavor. That, at the time of recording this, we just had Christmas, actually, right?
Oh, that is true.
Yeah, so,
this is kind of fitting.
So this family loaded up the Simmons with Christmas trees, evergreen Christmas trees, and they took them to Chicago for Christmas. So this ship eventually became known as the Christmas tree ship.
Well, that's kind of sweet. I mean, a Christmas tree ship, but Nick, what kind of tree did you have growing up?
Well, I know you guys now, with me out of the house, you use the fake tree.
It hasn't been changed in 20 years.
And, now we use a fake one too, but, some years we would have a real tree, and some years it'd be artificial.
Oh.
Yeah, so now, I never bought a tree off a boat, though. And that's how their business worked. They docked, and then they sold the trees off their boat.
Wow.
Yeah. And on November 17th, 1912, the ship sailed from Michigan, reporting a crew of 16. Now, it is not clear the total on board, because the captain was not a very good record keeper. He probably could have ran a mine.
Oh, yeah, right?
He wouldn't have been able to keep track of his miners if he ran a mine. But he was known to give free rides to several lumberjacks. they had to have lumberjacks to get the trees.
Oh yeah.
So he probably hired out of Chicago. And this way they could get back to their families in Chicago.
Oh, that's sweet.
They left at least one short. A Hoganson. What a name.
That's a great name.
It's a mouthful of a name there. The fact that the vessel was going out with no lifeboats. And he noticed that, a few other things. So this prompted him to quit.
Why would they go without lifeboats?
I don't know. And, when he quit, he was told he would not, unless he got to Chicago, he would not get his pay. So he took a train instead. But, that's besides the point. So, yeah, I'm assuming the lifeboats, they wanted more trees on there. I don't know. But, they've done this trip many times. So most of the crew probably wasn't even worried about it. Now, Captain Nelson was the captain of the boat, and he was one of the partners in this business. Like Hoganson, had seen rats leaving the ship. Now, they both didn't like that. They thought that was a bad omen.
Rats? It was a bad omen that the rats left? I would personally hope that there are no rats.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of them either, but this ship was floating on a dock. Now, it was surrounded by water. The rats leaving, they're kind of...
The rats killed themselves rather than be on that boat?
That's what it seems like. Now, so, what comes next has been disputed for over 100 years now.
Over 100 years?
Yeah, it was disputed over 100 years. Historic reports say the ship was caught in a terrible snowstorm that struggled to make it to Bailey's Harbor, Wisconsin, before it was blown back into the lake. The next sighting was reported to be from a life-saving station in Kewaunee, Wisconsin, on 23rd of November.
Kewaunee is known for a lot of hauntings as well.
Yes, and we might cover some of those too in the future. Now, the ship was reported to have been flying its flag at half-mast, asking for help, but the station already had its tugboat dispatched out there already, so it was unable to render aid. But they were able to contact the Two Rivers aid station, who immediately sent out a motorboat to find the ship. The crew searched until darkness, but there was no trace of the ship.
No trace of the ship that they just saw?
No.
But they were in a storm, so that's not totally weird.
No, but now normally I would agree with that first half of it. But the records or the reports on the account of when the snowstorm hit was actually the day after the Simmons went down.
Wait, so those reports might not be
So they're
true?
not lining up. The timeline doesn't line up.
It kind of seems like they're covering for something.
Right. So secondly, it is found. So then part of the ship was found on October 1971, 6 miles off. Wait. Yeah, 6 miles off of the Point Beach area. Now, where the rescue ship was searching, it was never more than 2 miles away from the ship. So how did it not see it?
So that means that the storm was not the day they claimed seeing it. and then if the rescue boat was out there, then they wouldn't have seen the ship. When they're 2 miles away, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah, so now a few weeks after the disappearance, a bottle washed ashore with a note inside that was signed by the captain of the ship. The note said, "I guess we're all through." During the night, a small boat washed overboard. The small boat washed overboard, leaking bad. Now, based on the position of the wreck, it appears the crew was trying to anchor, but the depth of the storm, or the depth and the storm, made it impossible.
So there was a storm.
Yes, but not. But the storm that has been reported and that one is totally different. So so it just doesn't line up. It almost kind of seems like they're just trying to explain this.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't, and there was just another explanation. Maybe like a way to ease the nerves of the families.
And that would explain why if they were searching for the ship, like they say, there was no ship there to be seen. So yeah. Maybe it's kind of like when you see a kid trying to make their vegetables disappear off their plate at dinner. Now, the family did continue the Christmas tree business, but they kind of learned from the whole disappearance of the ship that, well, I think we're going to use train cargo instead, and they started doing that in 1920. Although, how the Christmas tree sunk or was lost, whatever happened, is unknown to this day.
Well, at least the tradition lived on.
Yep. And, well, I think, that was the big ones I found.
They were quite interesting. I can't wait for the next few parts to this story.
Yeah, in the next few parts, there's a lot of UFO activity. There's some, commercial flights or airplane flights that have happened that have had some strange stuff. So hopefully we will have more, hopefully that interests you just as much as this did.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. If you'd like to see more episodes, stay tuned to a Dead Squirrel in the Wood podcast. Thank you.
And also, be sure to check out my bonus episode next week.